Hello everybody, this is Haidar Qasir talking to you. Today our lecture is about how to write task 1, the diagram. The question says, the diagram below shows how raw materials are used to make plastic products. Summarize the information by selecting the reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. We want to say something here. When you write task 1, or especially the diagram, is just to interpret the drawing into words. You don't write your opinion at all. Okay, again, you don't write your opinion at all. Okay, the question says, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, let's come here to the drawing. First we have from our refinery, and you have a lorry, which we call in American English also we call it a truck. Then you have the raw materials, sorry. There is an arrow leads to this one, high pressure oven. Then there is another arrow leads to long molecules of a plastic. Then after that you have the plastic granules. Then you have the arrow which leads to injection molder, melts plastic and forces it into mold. After that you have mold releases a product. Then you have here the quality controllers, two quality controllers. After that you have the waste product. Then you have the packing and the storage and warehouse. How to write it? Firstly, the diagram illustrates the various stages in the production of plastic items. Clearly, this is a complex process that requires a range of equipment and machinery and at some stages skilled workers. The question is, how did I decide here those things? Clearly this is a complex process, okay, that needs a range of equipment. We have, those are the equipment. This is the equipment and machinery because we have here the machines. And at some stages, skilled workers, the quality controller and, we have the three quality controllers, which means the skilled workers. Okay, now let's come here. After this introduction, we call it the introduction. Why? Because this illustrates, or this gives what we are going to write about, the steps we are going to write about. The diagram means to write the steps of producing or making something. Now, I gave the introductory for it. Now we need to write the stages. Initially, that means first, the raw materials have to be transported, transmitted, also taken, you may say, from the our refinery. We have here the lorry from our refinery to the plant. A plant means the location which we are going to produce the plastic from. On arrival, they are poured into a large drum, the shape of this one, a large drum, and from there they pass into a special oven. This is the special oven, which heats the material. How did I know it heats? Because we have high pressure oven, which heats the material at high pressure so that long molecules, because we have long molecules of a plastic form. Again, we start from here, from the first step. Initially, the raw materials have to be transported. How did I know transported? Because we have a lorry. That means they are transported from the oil refinery, which is mentioned here, to the plant. On arrival, they are poured into a large drum. This is the shape of the large drum. and from there they pass into a special oven, the special oven, which heats the material at high pressure so that long molecules of a plastic form. After that, we start the second step. The granules, we have a plastic granules here. The granules are then funneled. We funnel them. The funnel, this is the shape of the funnel, into a rectangular molder with a narrow end. The molder melts the plastic, because here it says injection molder melts the plastic. Melts the plastic in order to push it out into a mold. When the plastic has hardened in a mold, the items can be removed and any waste material discarded. Here, because we have mold releases a product. Again, the granules are then funneled into a rectangular molder with a narrow end. The molder melts the plastic in order to push it out into a mold. When the plastic has hardened in a mold, the items can be removed and any waste material discarded, because here we have waste product. And here you can see that the quality controllers are checking the product. Now we come here, before they can be packaged, the finished products have to be checked here for any problems. So next they are placed on a belt and observed by an expert. If they pass the inspection, they can be packed into boxes and taken to a warehouse for storage. Here is the step, okay, which is the last step of it. So this is how we write the diagram. Do not forget, we're writing a diagram. We're writing task 1, or especially a diagram. Do not give your opinion at all. Do not give your opinion at all. It's just interpreting the drawing. No more, no less. And in the drawing, they will give you hints. In the drawing, they will give you hints on how to write it. Okay, now we will take another one for task 1. Okay, we will take task 1 figure. We will talk about tables here. Just a second. If you have task 1 as figures, it will be shown in a second to you. Now, here is the table for task 1. Here, if you have it as a figure, we have company, we have market share in 2006 by percentage, and market share by 2007 by percentage. Okay, now let's come here. Here, the table below shows the worldwide market share of the notebook computer market for manufacturers in the years 2006 and 2007. Summarize the information by selecting the reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. This is what you need to write in task 1. And here is the table. And here is how we started. The table gives information on market share of notebook computer manufacturers for 2 consecutive years, 2006 and 2007. What we do in the introduction is that we paraphrase the statement. Sometimes we just need to change 2 or 3 words. Task 1, if it is a figure, not a diagram. Again, task 1, if it is a figure, not a diagram. You need to make a comparison. Task 1, if it is a figure, you need to make a comparison. While if it is a diagram, you just need to interpret the steps into words. No more, no less. Now, let's come to it. After the introduction, in both years, HP was clearly the market leader, selling 31.4% of all notebook computers in 2006, and slightly more. Words like slightly, like a huge gap, they make the difference when they estimate your marks. That means if you don't write slightly, if you deserve 7, they will give you 6. But if you write slightly, you might get 6.5 or 7 or even 7.5. And slightly more, 34% in 2007. This is a greater market share than its two closest competitors, Dell and Acer added together. This is the first comparison. I compared HP, the market leader. How do I know it's a market leader? I've just interpreted the table into words. HP with Dell and Acer. Then we come to the second comparison. Dell increased its market share from 16.6% in 2006 to 20.2% in 2007. In contrast, Acer saw its share of the market decline slightly from 11.6% to 10.7%. We made a contrast, which is also a comparison here between Dell and Acer. Now we come to the others. We explain the others. The other companies listed each had a much smaller share of the market. Toshiba's share increased from 6.2% in 2006 to 7.3% in 2007, whereas Lenovo's decreased slightly from 6.6% to 6.2%. Fujitsu Siemens share more than halved from 2006 to 2007, from 4.8% of the market to only 2.3%. Now we come to the last step. Other notebook computer manufacturers accounted for 22.8% of the market in 2006, more than all the companies mentioned except HP. However, in 2007, the other companies only made 19.3% of notebook computer sales, less than both HP and Dell. That was the last step we wrote here. Okay, now recommendations for task 1, the figure. Never write an opinion. It's interpreting the information in the figure into written words. Numbers from 0 to 10 are written in letters, while numbers from 11 and more are written as figures, that means as numbers, unless they occur at the beginning of a sentence. Words like slightly, obviously, clearly, etc. increase your points. Task 1 is a figure or a diagram. If it is a figure, it's usually a comparison. Do not forget, it's usually a comparison if it is a figure. Okay, now this is for task 1 here is for the academic writing. Okay, now we want to explain task 1 if it is a letter for the general writing. I'll be explaining it in a second. I just need a second to come to it to explain this one for general writing task 1. Please just pay attention. Writing Ielts task 1, letter, general Ielts. When we write a letter, we need to follow some certain steps. Firstly, you have the opening. Secondly, the details. Thirdly, the response or the action. And fourthly, the close. How to write the opening? Let's come to it. You recently bought a camera while traveling overseas. When you go to your destination, you discover that some important items were missing from the box. Write a letter to the local representative of the company. In your letter, give details of the camera and where you bought. Explain what has happened. Say what you want him or her to do about it. Okay, those 3 points are those 3 points. The first 2 points are the details, and the third point is the action or the response. But firstly, we need to write the opening. How to write the opening? We start with "Dear Sirs" if we don't know the recipient. For example, if you're writing it to a friend, you may write "Dear friend" or "Dear John," "Dear Delilah," for example. Why? Because it's a friend. It's not an official letter. But this one, you are writing it to a company, to school, to your university, to your manager. You need to start it with "Dear Sirs" because you don't know the recipient, a male or a female. "Dear Sirs, comma." Then in the opening, you give a hint of what you want to write about. I'm writing in the hope that you can help me with a problem regarding a camera that I recently bought. You outline what the letter is going to be about. This is really important. Okay, the opening is really important. Then after that, you start giving the details. On the 24th of April, I purchased a Tycoon digital SLR camera from the Golden Duty Free store at Bangkok Airport on my way from Auckland to London. The camera cost $599 and I paid for it on my Visa credit card. When I arrived at my hotel in London, almost 24 hours later, I discovered to my horror that the box which contained the camera did not include the battery or the battery charger. The space in the box for the charger was empty. I gave the details in detailed. Here. Then, now you give them step number 3, the response or the action. You ask them what you want them to do. I'm now in London and I'm not returning to Bangkok, so I need to get the missing parts here. As you are the representative of the company in this country, I would be grateful if you could arrange for the parts to be sent to me. I attach a copy of the receipt with this letter for your information. Then, at the end, you give the close. I look forward to plus verb ing form. Like, I look forward to hearing from you. Yours faithfully. Yours faithfully because it's an official letter. If you are writing it to your friend, you may write best wishes instead. Okay? Here. This is really important. Do not forget the opening. In the opening, "Dear Sirs," if it is official and you don't know the recipient, whether a male or female. If they write you, for example, to Mr. John, you write "Dear Mr. John." If you write it to Ms. or Mrs. whatever, you write "Dear Ms. or Mrs." But if you don't know, "Dear Sir, Madam," or "Dear Sirs." Then you give the opening. In the opening, you write the opening. It outlines, for example, here what the problem is. Then you write the details. In the details, you explain precisely what happened. Then you have the action. The action, whether a response or you have you ask them what to do. That means could be a recommendation. If it is, for example, a letter from a friend, to a friend who is asking you about advice. If let's say if he wants to travel to somewhere or not, you advise him. But here we have some problem happened, so we ask them what we want them to do. Then at the end you have the close. The close, in the close, as we said here, let me repeat it. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to plus verb plus ing form. Then if it is official, you write yours faithfully. If it is not official. To a friend, you just write, for example, best wishes or with love or whatever. Okay, now thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Wish that you got benefit of this lecture. Thank you. That was Mr. Haidar Al-Qasir with you. Bye everybody. And wait for other lectures which I am going to announce and advertise about.